tear off an eye strip off the roll. Okay, and you're going to tear the paper in the middle of the tape. And as you're applying stretch in this technique to the tape, you're going to make sure you apply even pressure on the tape and not actually pinching the middle of the tape or one side or the other. Okay, and just below the bottom portion of that kneecap, I want you to lay the tape down with full stretch. Good, and stretching that tape as you lay it down. Okay, and pinch off that tape really good right there. Okay, and bend the knee up. And you're going to lay the tape down without any tension. It's important you don't put any tension on the anchor. Same thing on the other side. Looks good. Yeah, rub that tape on with the waxy side of the paper pretty vigorously so you get that glue to adhere. Okay, and then all the way back down straight. Okay, that looks great. Take our first piece of tape, a full strip, and we're going to fold that in half. And we'll take a pair of scissors, and we're going to cut rounded corners around the folded end of the tape. What rounding the corners does is help prevent any catching of the tape on clothing and peeling that off prematurely. We're going to twist and tear the backing paper right in the middle of that piece, being careful not to touch the adhesive of the tape, handling it with the paper only. We're going to place this with 80% stretch, so we're going to stretch that all the way and then back that off just a little bit for 80% and lay that down, but the very ends of the tape you're going to lay down with absolutely zero stretch. Great, so absolutely zero stretch on the ends. We're going to take our second piece that we created off that first full strip, peeling that paper back. Just like the first piece, we're going to apply nice even pressure to 80%, going just above and over that first piece. Again, we're going to lay those tails down with zero stretch. Great, looks good. Okay, we're going to take our next piece and we're going to twist and tear the paper down by the logo end of the tape to create an anchor point. We're going to measure this from the kneecap around, or just below the kneecap, around the kneecap, and lay that anchor point up on the quadricep muscle, up on the thigh muscle. Okay, we're going to remove the paper backing. We're going to apply this with 25% stretch. So if you stretch that out all the way and then back that off half and half again, and you're going to trace the outer edge of that kneecap with the edge of that tape. As you wrap down around the front of the knee, you are now going to apply 50% stretch. And then the last bit of stretch or tape we're going to lay down with absolutely zero stretch. Awesome. Okay, one more piece. We're going to twist and tear the backing paper, but down by the logo to create an anchor. We can just line this up with that first piece, but on the opposite side of the thigh. Once again, we're going to remove the paper backing, and we're going to handle the tape by the paper. And just like that first piece, we're going to stretch that out 25%, tracing the inside edge of that kneecap with the tape. As we go around the front of the knee, we're going to apply a little bit more pressure, 50%, and then back that off, and then lay that tail down with absolutely zero stretch. Give the whole thing a good friction rub just to create a little heat. That allows the adhesive to stick to the skin much better. Make sure you get all the corners, rub that on well. Great, looks good. Some helpful tips. I'm going to take the first strip. We're going to twist and tear the paper backing, peeling that paper off to create an anchor point. I'm being careful not to touch the adhesive portion of the tape and just handling it by the paper. I'm going to place this just below the knee and rub that on with absolutely zero stretch. I'm actually avoiding the back part of the knee. I'm actually going to go over the tendons of the knee. I'm going to peel that paper off. We're going to apply this with 50% stretch. So I'm going to stretch this out 100% and back that off about halfway and lay that tape down. The last bit of tape, I'm actually going to just remove that paper and I'm going to lay that anchor down with absolutely zero stretch. I'm going to give the whole thing a little bit of a rub just to create some friction, some heat. That gets it to adhere to the skin well. For my next strip, I'm going to tear a full piece. Again, just like the first one, I'm going to twist and tear the backing paper to create an anchor. And I'm being careful not to touch that adhesive on the back of the tape. I'm going to go just the opposite side of the first strip, and I'm laying that anchor down with absolutely zero stretch. I'm avoiding the back of the knee right again, so I'm going around that point of pain. I'm going to do a 50% stretch and stretching that nice and evenly like that. I'm going to lay that down. I'm going to remove the paper backing and then lay that anchor down with absolutely zero stretch. I'll just give that a good friction rub for better adhesion to the skin. Tearing the paper off to create the anchor point down near the logo. And starting below the knee, I'm going to lay this anchor down and simply remove the paper backing of the tape with no tension. So in this position, the ITB is actually on stretch. By adducting or dropping the knee down, it's placing the tissue on stretch. For the second portion of this application, we'll leave the knee bent, though I'm going to have you roll to your back. Okay, I'm going to tear one piece of tape. And again, tearing an anchor point near the logo. Okay, we're going to place this on skin just behind the first piece of tape and just above the knee, and that has zero tension on it. I'm going to peel the paper backing off just for ease. I'm going to split this into a Y strip now, and putting tension on the skin, pulling towards the anchor point, we're actually going to put 50% or medium tension on that piece as I lay that piece down. Towards the end of the tape, no tension. Okay, same with the other portion of the Y strip. I'm going to pull tension towards the anchor as I put 50% or medium tension on the tape itself and laying that anchor point with no tension. Make sure that rubs on, and it's that simple. On that folded end, this creates rounded corners so sharp corners don't get caught on clothing as you take clothing on and off. We're going to twist and tear the backing paper, folding that back, being careful not to touch the adhesive. And this first piece we're going to stretch to 80%, so we stretch out 100% and then back that off just a little bit. We're going to apply that right over that point of pain you may be experiencing. We're going to peel that backing paper off, and those ends of the tape are being laid down with absolutely zero stretch. So only stretch on that piece is in the middle portion of the tape that goes right over that site of pain. Okay, our other piece that we just created, we're going to twist and tear that backing paper, peeling that back, and again trying to handle the tape so you're not touching the adhesive. We're going to apply nice even pressure through the piece of tape and apply that crossing the other piece, now lining with the lower leg, and just like the first piece, laying those tails down with absolutely zero stretch. Give it a little bit of a friction rub so it adheres. Make sure you get all the corners sticking to your skin well. Little friction helps the adhesive stick to the skin much better. Okay, and for our third piece, we're going to twist and tear a full piece of tape down by the logo end of the tape, and we're going to create an anchor there. With this piece, we're going right in between our first two pieces, down a little bit lower so it adheres to the skin, and applying this with absolutely zero stretch. So for this piece, we need to apply 25% stretch. So we're going to stretch out fully and then back off half and half again to create 25%. And we're going to lay that down and turn the tape to go up towards the middle thigh or pointing the end of the tape towards the hip. That last bit of tape, we're just going to take the paper off and lay that down with absolutely zero stretch. That whole application now, we're going to give a good rub to create friction, creates heat, which allows the adhesive to stick to the skin very well. That looks great. Some helpful tips before applying this. Tear off an eye strip off the roll. Okay, and you're going to tear the paper in the middle of the tape. And as you're applying stretch in this technique to the tape, you're going to make sure you apply even pressure on the tape and not actually pinching the middle of the tape or one side or the other. Okay, and just below the bottom portion of that kneecap, I want you to lay the tape down with full stretch. Good, and stretching that tape as you lay it down. Okay, and pinch off that tape really good right there. Okay, and bend the knee up. And you're going to lay the tape down without any tension. It's important you don't put any tension on the anchor. Same thing on the other side. Looks good. Yeah, rub that tape on with the waxy side of the paper pretty vigorously so you get that glue to adhere. For the second step in this application, I'll have you tear another piece of tape. And with that piece, we're going to create a Y strip, so folding it down the middle and then tearing it along the perforation. And you're going to tear it right down to the anchor where it'll actually stop automatically. Then you're going to tear the paper backing off of the anchor end of tape, being careful not to touch the anchor with your hands until you're ready to apply it. I'm going to apply that just above the kneecap, applying that on with no stretch. Okay, and then handling one of the legs at a time, peel some of that paper off. And we're going to apply that with no stretch along just the outside part of the kneecap, taking care not to cross the rotation point of the knee, and laying that tail down just as you did with no stretch. Again, the second leg in the same manner, just going to the inside or medial side of the patella or kneecap, and applying no stretch to that tape as you lay that down. Go ahead and rub that on with a piece of the paper backing, creating some friction and some heat. That way the tape adheres well to the skin. All right, and you are ready to play. Our first piece, I'm going to take one strip. I'm going to twist and tear the paper backing on the tape. This is to create an anchor. I'm going to put this just on the inside part, just above the knee, with absolutely no stretch on the tape. What I'm doing here is avoiding taping over the back of the knee, the sensitive skin just behind the knee. So I'm just above that. I'm going to remove the paper backing, leaving a little bit of paper on the end for me to hang on to. And we're going to place this on 25% stretch. So if we stretch 100%, back off halfway and halfway again, that leaves us with about 25% stretch on there. And go ahead and lay that tape down. And I'm going to go right over Michaela's shorts here just for this demonstration, but you would put this right on the skin at home. And I'm giving that a good friction rub just to create a little bit of heat and better adhesion of the tape. For our second piece, again, we're going to take one full strip. I'm going to twist and tear the paper backing here and removing that, leaving the logo end. Again, I'm placing this with absolutely zero stretch, just above the knee, not taping the skin behind the knee. We're going to, again, apply this with 25% stretch. So we can judge that, 100%, 50, 25. We're going to go ahead and lay that piece down. A little bit of friction. And I'm going to leave just that end with absolutely zero stretch on there. We're going to give that a good friction rub to create spur. Right down the middle and peeling that back, being careful not to touch the adhesive, just handle the paper of the tape. We are going to place this just under the heel with about 80% stretch. So if you stretch that out all the way 100% and back that off just a little bit, that's about right. We're going to angle this tape as we apply it with that stretch so it ends up just behind the ankle bones. I'm going to remove that last little bit of tape from the ankle bones on up with absolutely zero stretch. We're going to do this exact same thing on the opposite side of the foot, the outside part of the foot. I'm going to give that a quick rub just to create a little friction, make sure that's adhering well. That helps heat up the adhesive. I'm going to take our next full strip. I'm going to twist and tear the backing paper again right in the middle of the tape. Peel that back, being careful not to touch the adhesive. We're going to place this behind the heel, again with 80% stretch. We're going to lay that down, and as we come towards the mid-foot, we're going to just ease off that tension And we're going to peel off that last bit of paper, laying that tape down with absolutely zero stretch. Same thing on the opposite side, just on the outside part of the foot, laying that down with absolutely zero stretch. Okay, and for our last piece, we're going to take another full strip. This time we're going to twist and tear down towards the logo end of the tape to create an anchor. This is going to be applied just ahead of the other pieces on the midfoot, kind of the sole of the foot. Give that a good rub. We're going to remove the paper backing, leaving a little bit on the end to handle so you don't touch the adhesive. This time we're going to apply this with about 50% stretch, so back that about halfway off, and we're going to apply this right up under the heel and along that Achilles tendon, rubbing that down, and then again the last little bit of tape, we're just going to apply that with absolutely zero stretch. Tap that arch down, give that the whole thing a good friction rub. Excellent. Again, that friction creates heat, and that allows the adhesive to really stick to the skin. Position. We're going to take our first full strip, and we're going to twist and tear the paper backing off one end, and removing that creates our anchor. But before we apply that anchor, we need to measure where to place this. So we're going to place the non-torn end just on the inside of the heel, going up under the heel, and then applying that anchor with absolutely no stretch. Okay, and the next step is to remove the majority of the paper backing, but leaving just a little bit on the end to hang on to, as you want to avoid touching the adhesive part of the tape with your hands. And we're going to lie that down to just the outside part of that ankle, and then from there we're going to start applying a stretch at about 50%, going up and under the heel, and then laying that down. And from here we're just going to lay the remainder of the tape with absolutely no stretch on it. Great. Give that a little bit of a rub to create some friction, some heat, and some adhesion to the skin. And we're going to take our next full strip, and just like the first, we're going to twist and tear the paper backing to create an anchor point. And again, like the first piece, we're going to use the end that we did not tear to measure around the foot, about midpoint of the arch on the outside part of the foot. And as that tape comes around, we're going to apply the anchor to the inside part of the foot. Give that a good rub, and this anchor is going on with absolutely no stretch. Okay, we're going to begin removing the paper backing, leaving a little bit on the end to hang on to. Applying even pressure with your finger, we're going to put about a 50% stretch on this tape as we go around the heel and the outside part of the foot, and then under the heel, so just under the arch, leaving that last little bit to lay down with absolutely no stretch. Okay, and for our last full strip of tape, once again, we're going to twist and tear the paper backing, removing that piece to create an anchor point. Though just like that second piece we applied, we're going to measure this by taking the end that we did not tear to about the midpoint of the foot, and then applying the anchor now on the outside part of the foot. This just helps us get the right measurement of the tape. From there, we're going to peel the paper backing off, leaving a little bit on the end just to hang on to so we don't touch that adhesive part of the tape. We go around the heel with about 50% stretch, then under the heel, and then as we end the tape, we're going to take the remaining paper off, and that last little bit we're just going to lay down with absolutely no stretch on the tape. Okay, and once again, we're going to apply a good friction rub to create some heat and some good adhesion of that tape to the skin. Okay, we'll take a good look at that, and that is a great ankle application. One piece of tape. Going to tear off the anchor point. Okay. We're going to apply the anchor point to the underside of the heel. Once that is done, we're going to bring the foot into what's known as dorsiflexion, or flexing the foot up. And we're going to simply lay the tape down with very little tension on the tape. Once that's on there, we're going to rub that on, make sure that's on there. Rubbing will actually heat the adhesive slightly and get it to stick a little bit better. Okay, and we'll place a second piece of tape on. Again, just tearing one piece. This time we're going to tear in the middle of the tape. Okay, we're going to be putting even tension on the tape, so it's not just tension through the middle portion of the tape. I like to do this just by using my index fingers and thumbs, put even tension on the tape. Again, with the foot in dorsiflexion, I'm going to put full tension on the middle portion of the tape, lay that down, and for the remainder of the tape, just laying down the anchors with no tension. We tear off a Y strip off this roll. So taking off a piece of tape, you're going to fold that tape down the perforated center and then tearing the tape down the middle. Very good. Okay, and the tape will stop at the anchor point. You're going to tear off the paper at the anchor point, the anchor end of the tape where the logo is. And what we're going to do is place that anchor approximately 2 to 3 inches below that site of pain. Okay, and we're going to make sure that you're on stretch as you apply the legs of the tape, and no tension on this tape as you go ahead and lay that down. You're going to go on either side of that point of pain. Very good. Same thing with the other leg and going around that side of pain. That looks great. Okay, for the second part of this application, I'll have you tear off another strip and make a Y strip out of it. Again, you're going to perforate down the center. You're going to tear right down. It will stop right at the anchor. There you go. Tear off the anchor at the logo end of the tape. Now what you're going to do is apply this anchor. Again, this will be on skin and not on shorts, but you're going to go just on the inside part of the thigh, as close to that side of pain as you can get it. Okay, and now you're going to take off the paper, and as you apply this, you're going to make sure that this part is adhered down, and applying about a moderate stretch. Actually, I'm going to have you come up just a little closer to that side of pain with pretty good tension on there, moderate tension. Okay, and as you come around, you're going to just go ahead and lay that tape down with now no tension to form the other end. Again, not putting any tension on either end of the strip. Okay, and same thing with this leg of tape. And go around that side of pain. Fairly good tension. That's perfect. You can bend the tape around just like you are. Again, no tension on that tape. You can go ahead and fix that little piece there. Again, would normally be sticking to skin and not your shorts. So, yeah, go ahead and rub that on with a piece of the paper, the wax side. Creating a little friction helps that tape adhere to the skin. And then from that point, you can come out of the stretch and see how that works.